welcome to Talk Tuesday.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Renee helps women who are sick of the dating scene find true love by teaching them to date effectively. She was single for over 2 decades before meeting her husband on Tinder in 2017, when she was well into her 40s. She has been featured in the Huffington Post, Glamour Magazine, and Tiny Buddha. She has 2 books, Beloved, How to Go from Relationship Challenge to Relationship Ready, and 10 Things You Can Do to Upgrade Your Love Life that are available on Amazon. We are thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you. I am so happy to be here. It is really fun to get to talk about this because a lot of people come out of long-term relationships and they're like, oh my God, they hear things or whatever. And they're like, they don't know what Tinder is. They don't want to know about any of it, you know.
Sure.
Especially nowadays, how in the world do you manipulate or maneuver in the dating world when we're in COVID-19?
Actually, that is a really hot topic, and I am busier than ever because I believe that this is a godsend to anybody who is really sick of just running out and meeting random people just because they sent a few messages on Tinder or Match or whatever app or site you're on. You don't have to do that. I teach my clients not to do that, to lengthen the screening process and use it more efficiently. And COVID is a great time to do that, to really get to know someone before you run out there. And it's so much more efficient, really, than just meeting someone that you've only exchanged a few texts with, if you think about it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I know I've had clients, and we talk about this a little bit as far as, you know, when do you start dating? Should I start dating when they're in the process of a divorce? And I know that, you know, I've referred clients to you, and they've been very happy. So how do you work, Renee? I mean, what is your role in trying to explain to somebody what the heck is Tinder and how do you use it appropriately?
Yeah. Well, the first thing to do is to really decide what you want and why you want it. So if you're out there dating to get back at your ex or heal a bruised ego or any of those motivations, you need to clean that up first and decide what it is that you're looking for. Like Stephen Covey says, begin with the end in mind. So I like to help people who are looking for long-term relationships and date efficiently. And then, so once we establish what it is that they want, it's much easier to understand what comes next. So we help them write a profile that really reflects what they want and can screen out some of the people who will read the profile and say, okay, this person's not just looking for some kind of random hookup or friends with benefits or whatever. And so when people read your profile and see, oh, she's looking for this, they could elect to pass you by. If they don't, there's a whole efficient way of using the websites and the apps to screen people, to take them through a few messages, and please speak with someone on the phone live before you meet someone. This is such a game changer. I encourage all of my one-on-one clients to do this along with good profile and good pictures. Once you actually get on a date with someone, and if you do want to be super cautious and have social distancing, which is a great idea nowadays, you can have that first date be on Zoom or on Skype or just a walk with your masks on. And it's so much easier to stay out of trouble and keep things going at a reasonable pace when you have these kinds of actions in place, so that by the time you are kind of getting into a relationship, it's not with someone you barely know. You've had some time to actually talk about things fully clothed with both feet on the floor and get to know this person that you're considering getting into a relationship with. It doesn't have to go so fast and be just all kinds of random chaotic things that we all hear about. Those things don't have to happen.
So are the majority of your clients like younger looking for first time love, or do you have a good amount that are divorced that are looking for their next steps, or is it kind of a mix?
It is a mix. It does skew towards the over 35 and sometimes never married. A lot of times they've at least been married once or have had a long-term relationship or several and are just not hitting the mark, not finding what they want. And by the time they come to me, a lot of people are very frustrated because we just don't learn how to date efficiently. We're not taught this stuff in school, and it can be challenging to learn on your own with, you're at the mercy of what, Google and self-help books, or if you're lucky, you have access to someone like me. But back in the day when I was trying to date after the dust settled and my husband had passed away and I had kids and all the things, and I was like going to the borders trying to find dating advice. It was pretty rough out there.
Yeah.
So dating for dummies or dating 101. I know you've written a few books and those are available on Amazon. Is that right?
Yes, that is true. They are available and there's some really great advice. Beloved is more about mindset. I highly recommend anyone who is feeling bruised and coming out of a relationship to work on that. I just feel the word like healing is thrown a lot about these days, but you do want to be in a good mindset to be out there dating. Don't put that on someone else to make you feel better when you need a confidence boost because you're coming out of a relationship and are in a tender place. That's going to make it even harder for yourself if you expect to have that healed up through dating. Please work on yourself and come from a good, honest, healthy place when you're out there dating. You don't have to be perfect, but just don't use the dating scene to heal your heart. That can go wrong.
Sure, absolutely. So I know that you had indicated that you had children when you found your current husband, right? So
well, they were grown up. It took me a good long time.
got it. I was gonna say, I think one of the things we have is we have a lot of people who have young kids and they don't know how to get started. They don't know how to date and find people when they have a family.
Right.
I don't know if you have any tips for people in that situation.
Yes, learn how to date and learn how to date efficiently because I understand as a single mom how short on time single parents can be. You've got kids. A lot of us aren't even able to send kids to school right now. Your time is really at a premium now more than ever. So learning to date efficiently is the best thing you can do so that you are using your time efficiently with the right people. And so if you don't hardly have time to date, you don't want to be going out meeting random strangers. You want to talk to them on the phone. You want to Skype with them. You want to make sure you've got a real contender on your hands before you take the time to get ready and find a sitter or do whatever you have to do to make a actual in-person date happen. So definitely learn how to date efficiently, tailor your profile to the results you want, screen people, and you can do this nicely. You don't have to pepper them with questions and interrogate them. All these things can be done with finesse, and it can even be kind of fun, really. I promise it can. And when you learn to do these things efficiently, you won't be spending so much time with, just kind of going down rabbit trails, and then you'll have more time to do the other things we all need to do, like take care of yourself and work and take care of the kids and all of that.
Yeah, great tips. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
So do you work with...
It's interesting.
Go ahead.
It's interesting interesting that you said that you want to figure out where you want to end up, and that's a good place to start. I mean, we use that in our practice too. When people come to see us, we'll say, well, let's talk about the results that you want to see and where do you need to be, and then you kind of work a little bit backwards. So it sounds like that's kind of your advice too, which I think is great. And I'm also hearing that this profile that you're talking about is pretty important. So if someone comes to you and they're in the process of a divorce and they're still married, is that somebody that you can work with, or is that something that you don't work with?
I absolutely can work with someone who is in the process of a divorce for sure. And that's with all of my clients, regardless of their relationship status. I would begin by asking them what it is that they want. And this is, I'm glad you brought up that you use that in your practice too, because it is practical advice for anything you're trying to do. Raising your kids, running a marathon, buying a house, getting a graduate degree, or like anything really. Figure out what you want. It's such a huge time saver. So yes, I can work with anyone who is in a divorce. And I think that's if you know that you want to move on, that you are not, for whatever reason, able to continue in your marriage and you want to move forward, it is really great to get some help and figure out dating from someone who knows how and can help you through that process. Because what happens a lot of times is, by the time someone will reach out to a coach or a therapist or someone else for help, they have really been through the ringer and they've tried all the things, and they are so frustrated and at their wits' end that I have to talk them off the ledge before we can even get to work. So if you think that dating is something that you're interested in doing, definitely I can help you. There are people who can help you get it right so you can save yourself that trouble and just the cost of getting it wrong and finding out what works and what doesn't work the hard way. It's so much more time consuming and exhausting.
Sure. So do you go like on your clients' accounts on dating profiles and fix stuff up and like spin it to what their goal is? Like, is that part of what you do with them?
I like to work with them because I'm more of a teach a man to fish philosophy. Like, if I have them send me screenshots and then I work through it with them and I help them to spin things and find different ways of saying things that is really reflective of them. I used to write my clients' profiles for them, but I find that a more collaborative process works better because it will sound more like them. I don't want anyone to get on a date with someone and be like, you don't sound like the profile because I wrote the thing, So I do collaborate with my clients and help them do that. And then it helps them to refine their own approach when they're emailing people or messaging people or texting or talking on the phone. There are different ways of saying the same thing, nicer or softer, and the collaborative process of profile writing and all of the conversations that I have with my clients help them. It's kind of like rewiring someone's brain. Actually, my client today just told me this, like, you're rewiring my brain, like a personal trainer, kind of getting in there and shifting the way that they think about things, because what we're really doing is becoming the person who can have the relationship they want. I'm not delivering them a result in a box that they just open and try it on like a dress. They're becoming the person who can have the result they want.
How many weddings have you been invited to?
Boy, I would like to be invited to some weddings. I need to get more like you're inviting me to your wedding, right?
Right. Exactly.
Because I will go to your wedding. That would be amazing.
That is so
Well,
funny.
that's another piece of advice, not inviting to the weddings, but when we talk with our clients, we don't draft for them and say, here's what we've drafted. We think you should accept it. We also work as a collaborative team with our clients so that the end result of their document is something that they've owned and they've been a part of. But, we see people evolving through the divorce process, just like you see people evolving on a different level. And so, for example, when we read MSAs, we can kind of tell what people are looking for and what they're wanting. And when you read someone's profile, is there buzzwords and certain things that you look for to say, this is a good one for you or a bad one for you, or stay away from this?
Yeah, this is funny, buzzwords. Don't use the word fun in your profile.
What?
For some reason, fun is equated with another 3-letter word, and it tends to get a little casual, and people can think that you're up for things that you may not necessarily be up for. So I would find another way to say that. So yeah, so kind of try to stay away from the word fun. If you're looking for a long-term relationship and you read a profile that says, oh, I'm just out there having fun, or I'm looking to date and see what happens, or any kind of thing like some people will say right in the profile, my kids come first, and there's nothing wrong with your kids coming first. I totally get it. But your profile should not read like a disclaimer or a warning label. You can always filter out what you don't want when you get the responses. You really don't have to scare people to death and put up a 10-foot barbed wire fence on your profile. And if you see that in someone else's, you can read the tone. If they sound hostile or kind of like suspicious, like another buzzword, drama. When people say, leave the drama for your mama, or no drama, please, you probably don't want to click on that one.
Why? That sounds like a good thing.
They've got a lot of drama. They must attract it, or they are drama.
Right. I mean, what are they doing to make these poor people crazy? I don't know. But you want to stay away from any super negative things on both sides. Don't write it in your profile. And if you're seeing that in someone's profile, you might want to look for someone a little more positive. If they sound jaded, if they sound just annoyed with everyone in the human race, probably a bad bet.
That's funny.
But I mean, right? It's like, I like long walks on the beach and picnics in the park, right? I mean, is that enough?
Well, here's the thing. This is why you need me, because I can help you write an amazing profile. Please don't write, okay, this is what people do. They write, I like long walks on the beach, and I love my dog and my nieces and my nephews and my kids and my grandma, and I bake really great cookies. They'll throw up some half-baked selfies on there, whatever they can find on their phone. And then they think that this wonderful person is going to fall out of the sky. Well, they're not. Your profile sounds like everyone else's. I'm sorry, but I've never seen not never, but I did this for years, and I'm still doing it now with my clients. A really well-written profile is such a gem. Like, it's a magnet to somebody. When they see a really well-written profile, they're like, what? Like, sometimes I saved my husband's Tinder profile just so that I can read it to my clients, because I'm like, this is what everybody's profile looks like. And he just said something like, I like craft beers and skiing and enjoying and relaxing outdoors, right? I mean, that's what most people write. You might not be, you're not looking for Shakespeare here. So be a little forgiving if on your end, like when you're reading 10,000 profiles and your eyes are glazing over and he says he likes craft beers and he has some whatever selfies, give them a break. They could be really good. On the other end, you better write a good profile and have some amazing pictures. It makes it so much easier for you.
My sister.
So not pictures that are 20 years old or.
No,
Right.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't do that.
It seems like there's this like cookie cutter approach everybody knows about, but it's not written down everywhere. It's like every guy in their 30s has a picture with a child that's a niece or a nephew, a picture with their dog, a picture with their grandma, picture at a sporting event, and then like the profile you just described.
Pretty much.
So you have to be very specific about what you put out there. But
Yes.
forgetting about what other people do just because they don't know better. I mean, how do you sort through like, well, he likes craft beers and this one likes international alcohol?
Well, that's the thing. That's so cute. Yeah. That's why, yes, be forgiving and be tolerant on your end, not with bogus ridiculousness like people being rude to you, but yeah, you're going to have to weed through a lot of generic profiles. If you have a good one, it makes you more desirable and they will reach out to you. So you'll get a lot more responses. And then yes, your eyes will glaze over, I promise you, with talk of craft beers and Cubs games for sure. But here's how you weed that out. You require a phone call. So many guys ghost at that point. It's not even funny. So by the time you volley a few messages back and forth, they're going to want to text you and text you and text you and 9 other people. And you're going to indicate that you would like to speak on the phone. So many guys who are just looking for random whateverness and are texting 9 other people and amusing themselves with Tinder, they're not calling you. So that's how you do it, not through their profile. Yeah, you want to read their profile and make sure it doesn't say something insane, but that's not a guarantee you're going to get a good date. Requiring a phone call ups the odds dramatically that at least you're not going to have some kind of craziness. And then if the guy actually calls you and he's crazy, then you just don't talk to him again, and you definitely don't date him. But you're not finding out in some bar when he shows up drunk and ridiculous, right? So this is like so efficient. Just these things I'm sharing here are total game changers from the way most people go about this.
I love the word whateverness. I think I might start using whateverness as a word. I love it. We have a question here for you.
Sure.
Someone wrote in and they say, can Renée give pointers to know when to start dating after a divorce and how to get started? For those of us who last dated anyone more than 30 years ago, what do we do? Where do we start? How do they reach you?
Yes. Well, come to me, schedule a call with me, and we can talk about working together, because I can so help shorten your learning curve. And I am like a fairy godmother in this way, and I can really hold your hand. And so definitely email me at Renée@ReneeSuzanneCoaching.com, and we can schedule a time to talk. And if you would like to see more about what I'm up to before you get on the phone with me, you can also check out my website at ReneeSuzanneCoaching.com. And so that's a great place to just get in touch with me personally. But as far as tips for somebody who is coming out of that situation, really be straight with yourself about what it is that you're looking for. Are you wanting a long-term relationship? Are you wanting to just date and see what happens? Do you just really have the end in mind? And then get someone to help you write a profile and date. You can certainly do it on your own, but it's harder and it takes longer, and it can be a lot to figure out, and it can be super overwhelming. If you are really determined to do it on your own, I do have a really good class that can help you with that. We could share a link with that. Be careful about Googling, like you'll get conflicting everything. And I think a lot of it is written to, if you've been out of the dating scene for 30 years, you don't want to just Google like how to do Tinder and have something that's addressing millennials. And you could try and you might get lucky, but it really is quite a bit to learn. But if you begin with the end in mind and you get on the phone with somebody live and speak with them live on the phone before you ever meet them, please. That will save you, whether you're a millennial or you have been married for 50 years and you want to get out there and date again. I would advise that to anyone wanting to date right now. Definitely speak on the phone live before you agree to meet them. If you're concerned about COVID, you can, after you talk to them, have a Zoom date, a Skype date, Facebook Messenger, whatever kind of digital date you can have, you could totally do that. By the time you get somebody who is willing to show up for those things, they are willing to get to know you. They're willing to go at your pace. They're willing to talk to you and engage in a conversation. And so that is not something that somebody who is talking to a bunch of people while his wife is asleep in the next room is going to be willing to do. Okay, so this really does cut drastically down on the kinds of things that you hear about that you don't want to happen to you. So I would for sure just take those tips, and they're life-changing.
Awesome.
So what about, I mean, do you work with people who, there's people out there who are dating like this woman who wrote in 30 years. They don't know anything about Tinder or these apps. Do you have recommendations, I presume, for them of which ones to go to, which ones to stay away from, and how do you use it? How do you swipe left and right and up and down? I mean, do you have a class on that?
Yeah, well, I work on this with all my clients. And so the thing is, I almost always steer my client, like, please have the good profile and good pictures, but I'm pretty app and website agnostic, honestly, because I think it's more about the person and the methods that you're using than the the venue, quite frankly. You can go on, I met my husband on Tinder. There's also Bumble. I like Tinder more, but it's not like there is any one place where all the great guys or girls go and all the terrible people are somewhere else. Like, they're mixed in with all the people. Just like you can meet somebody who is not up to no good at church, at the grocery store, or at a bar, right? It's not like all the bad people just go to bars and, so you really have to know how to conduct yourself, know what you want, and present yourself in such a way as to attract and keep that kind of relationship going. And so with all that said, I tend to recommend that people try Tinder and either Match or OkCupid, have the well-written profile, screen people, talk to them in the way that I described, because people are everywhere. There are people everywhere, 7 billion people on this planet, and you're only looking for one.
And what about, I mean, you've been looking at these Tinder, let's say, or Match for years. Are you still seeing some of the same people that you saw 10 years ago are still scrolling around on Tinder and Match?
Sometimes they are. And well, I don't go on there and scroll anymore. I don't think my husband would like that. So
For your clients, of course. For your clients.
Well, my clients are from everywhere. So I have clients overseas, and so I don't like scroll through. They do send me screenshots. So I do that a lot. But when I was single, and I do hear my clients complaining about this as well, that yes, there are people that are on there that were on there 5 years ago or whenever ago. And so what I would say is, okay, take a deep breath. You're still on there too. So it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them. Maybe they haven't figured out how to date yet. Maybe they were in a relationship for a while and just got back on there at the same time that you did, whatever. But if you learn how to date for the result you want and work on what is going on, why you're picking the people you're picking. Honestly, this isn't probably applicable to someone who's been in a relationship for 30 years, but those people who have been out there, maybe they just haven't found the person yet. I know my husband, who is wonderful. Okay, I'm kind of prejudiced, but I think my husband is attractive. And yes, I did meet him on Tinder, and he had been divorced for, I think, 6.5 years by the time I met him. Okay, he's brilliant. He has a master's degree in engineering. He's like speaks English, and he's like wasn't homeless or anything. He just had a really hard time dating. And so I would hate for someone to miss out on a really great person because they're like, well, this guy's been on here a while, when's his expiration date? So when you talk to someone and get to know them and give them a chance to message you, talk to you on the phone, it really doesn't matter. You'll find out why they've been on there so long. They'll tell you, or maybe they'll do something crazy and you'll be like, yeah, all right, now I know why that person has been on Tinder for 5 years. So just let it play out and try to see. Here's what happens. I get on all these tangents. People put up with the wrong things for a really long time and cut people off for things that are not material very quickly. So you might see something in somebody's profile that you think is kind of like weird, or maybe they don't have the best pictures, or maybe they misspelled a word and they're like, nope, nope, done, done, done. But then the person who only calls you once a week or only texts you once a week or doesn't ever get back to you and strings you along and breadcrumbs you, people put up with that person for months. Reverse that. Be more tolerant and forgiving of the things that are less important, and the things that are anything to do with how you personally are treated. You can be judgy about that, but don't pick people's profiles apart or their pictures and miss the big picture of how you're being treated. A person could have a really great pictures and an amazingly well-written profile, and if they're not following up with you for a second date, if they're not calling you, if they say, I don't call, I only text or whatever, I don't care if he has $3 gazillion or she has a yacht or whatever. It's about how you're treated much more than what is said or done in the context of a profile or how long they've been on Tinder or Match or whatever.
Good points. That's helpful.
Good.
What about somebody who doesn't want to be online? What if they just want to date, like meet somebody at the grocery store or at the church? Do you help with that too, or is it only online?
I would really coach someone hard on that, because you are, and there are so many reasons, and I wrote so many blogs about this. I would want to know why they were so resistant to being online or being on Tinder, because the websites and the apps are honestly the most efficient way to meet someone ever. If you are looking for a serious relationship, your person is on there right this minute, and I would be very curious to know why you would not want to be open to that. And usually when the person tells me it's a problem that we can 100% fix in teaching them how to date more efficiently, right? So I would not be a good coach if I let anybody say, no, I'm not going to use these amazing tools, the most amazing dating tools that we have in this day and age, and I'm going to go back to the horse and buggy stage and effectively insist on, walking 100 miles. Like, no, I will not let you do that if you are my client. We can talk about how to make it more palatable and to get you the successful relationship you want. But at the end of the day, when you are standing there, like I was on my wedding day, marrying the man of my dreams, I wasn't like, oh, I met him on Tinder, this sucks. It just never crossed my mind, right? I shout from the rooftops, I met him on Tinder, you got to try this.
Awesome. So, don't discount it just because you've never done it before.
Yeah, or because you're afraid of it, or because your friends have horror stories about it. I mean, really, refusing to date online is like just refusing to get in a car ever, or, like, it's so much harder. Could you get somewhere without ever getting in a car? You could, for sure, but why would you do that? It's going to take so much longer.
And
Right.
truly, it is dating online. You're having a first meeting potentially on Zoom. You're having your second meeting on Zoom. I mean, people may not get together for a while, so it's truly dating online.
Yeah. And I promise it is so much more efficient, and it saves you so much time. And especially with COVID, why would you not consider doing it this way?
Right. I get like fussy if I'm out and someone doesn't have their mask on their face properly, let alone like sitting for dinner with them somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, you are so welcome.
This is cool because usually our questions focus more on ending their relationships and how to help them end their relationships, and starting a new one is such a fresh wonderful thing to talk about for a change. So thank
Yay,
you.
I'm glad. You're welcome. I have a question for you because some of my clients are in the process of ending their marriages. And so from a legal standpoint, what should they be aware of as they navigate dating before they have that final divorce and the ink is dry and all that? What might clients who are looking to date before that point want to keep in mind from your perspective as their attorneys?
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, there's two things that people really need to pay attention to if they're trying to start a new relationship while ending their new one. The first thing is the financial impact. And what you don't want to do is be in a situation in a divorce court where you're spending money on a new relationship or on a new person that's traceable, that's extensive, that's beyond the pale. Because it can be caused, if you can be charged with what's called dissipation of a marital estate. So, 2 cups of coffee is a little bit different than like dinner for 2 at Steak 48. But make sure that you're not spending a ton of marital money on the new relationship. Don't pay for vacations. People are always so surprised when I find out that they went on vacation with a significant other. When you pay for airfare, it shows who the ticket was for. Their name is on there, like terrible in divorce court. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is to be really sensitive if you do have kids to introducing them to someone new while a divorce is pending. It's something you should certainly talk to your attorney about prior to introducing them or notifying them that you're in a relationship. Some divorces take a very long time, and maybe it's okay in that situation. Maybe, the other parents moved on also, but you don't want to just like start introducing your kids to people without having a conversation with your attorney first. Anything else you can think of, Jan?
No, I can't. Those are really two of the points I also had in mind. But one thing is critical. People are unsure of the consequences, but everybody's human. People move on. People, fall in love with other people or date other people, and it's not held against them. There's nothing wrong with it. You can certainly date during your divorce process, but like Jessica said, you got to be cognizant of the money that you're spending. You can't use marital funds for a non-marital purpose. And you got to be careful of the kids. You want to do what's in the best interest of your kids, and only you know what that is. And so it's okay. It's not a bad thing. And judges, they don't conduct doesn't really matter, so it's not a big deal in divorce court.
Okay. Is it better? So for instance, if one spouse, I know when my husband and his first wife divorced, she immediately moved on and moved in with her boyfriend. Would it look better for somebody who was the other spouse, like in that situation, if they dated, or does it not matter what your ex-spouse does? You just keep your side of the street clean and kind of do what you need to do. Like if your other, like let's say your ex has moved on and is now living with someone else, would that be viewed more favorably?
Well, I think it definitely matters more about your own conduct than what your spouse is doing. But one way that it can really impact you personally is if you're a candidate for spousal support. If you were a candidate for spousal support and you move in with someone, you've now terminated your right to ever get spousal support, even if you break up with the person and don't live with them anymore. So,
really?
Yes. Once you've had cohabitation on a conjugal basis with another person, even if it's during the divorce process, you've essentially been barred from seeking spousal support. So, it doesn't matter so much what your ex is doing. It's more about, I like how you said keeping your side of the street clean.
I love that too. I'm going to use that too.
Right? Right. Let the garbage man linger on the other side of the street.
Right. There's another question. Jessica, do you see it from our viewers?
We do. So it says, hello, I've just met someone via Bumble and I've been very happy dating for 1 month. I actually know his sister well, so I felt great meeting him and it worked well. I'm divorced for 7 years. Any suggestions on when to introduce my 8-year-old? I'm very cautious of her feelings.
Well, wow, that's a tough one. That's a personal choice, right? You gotta talk to your ex-spouse you're divorced from, see what they think. and just do what's best for your children. I mean, we run across that a lot, and my advice is always to talk with the other spouse, and you guys, you the parents, know what your child can handle. And maybe sometimes there's a therapist involved, maybe you need some counseling, maybe you need some guidance on how to do that. Jessica, I'm sure you've run across it too.
Yeah, and a lot of times the first thing I'll do is, especially if you're already divorced or you're already separated from the other child's parent, I'll look right into the joint parenting agreement or allocation judgment just to make sure there's no language in there that outlines things you're supposed to do prior to introducing. Sometimes there's stuff that gets plugged in there. Like Jan said, your ex may have a right to know about this before you do it. They may have a right to meet this person before your child does. People negotiate things like this. So check your JPA also. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are great points. I would just add that you do want to check in on those things, of course, and consider your child, but also consider yourself. I think the person who asked the question said they had been divorced for 8 years. Is that right?
7, yeah. And the child.
Okay. Right. So you do deserve to move on and have a life. And I think a lot of times when you get a divorce, it's just, we take on so much as single parents, looking out for our kids and trying to always do what is best for others. And remember you matter too. Please look out for yourself and go on with your life and do things for yourself too, because it is good for your kids to see at whatever point that is best for everyone, but it is good for your kids to see you move on and be happy in a new relationship, and to know that that is part of your life and part of being an adult. And so, within the constraints that you need to observe, please be willing to move on and do that and create that for yourself.
Yeah, I agree. It is important for your children to see you happy.
Yeah.
Another good point, Renee. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been fun.
It has. Thank you so much for having me. Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome. Happy Tuesday, everyone.